AITAH for staying with my boyfriend despite my friends cutting me off over his past? Posted on r/AITAH. I'm really struggling right now and could use some outside perspective. I'm currently pregnant and my two best friends don't even know yet. That alone breaks my heart, because we used to be so close and they were always the people I imagined sharing this kind of news with. The reason we've fallen out is because of the man I'm seeing. Many years ago, he went to prison for something he did involving a woman. It wasn't physical, but it was serious enough that he served time. I completely understand why that raises concerns. However, the person I know now is very different from who he was back then. People can grow and change, and from everything I've seen, he has. My friends don't see it that way. They've basically decided they can't support me being with him, and it's gotten to the point where they're cutting ties with me over it. What hurts is that I've always supported them, even when I didn't fully agree with their choices. One of them had a child with a partner who was physically abusive, and I stood by her through everything. The other had a baby with someone who didn't support her financially and didn't even see their child for the first year, and I helped her however I could. More recently, he was involved in an incident where he allegedly assaulted a woman, which makes the situation feel even more complicated to me. I never judged them or walked away, I just tried to be there as a friend. So now I feel torn. On one hand, I understand their concerns. On the other hand, it feels unfair and one-sided that they won't offer me the same support I gave them. So, AITAH for staying with him and expecting my friends to respect my choice? Edit ****. I understand why some people feel that way, and I know not everyone believes people can change. But his offense was over 15 years ago, and since then he hasn't committed a single crime. I believe people can grow and move forward, and I choose to judge him on who he is today. Relevant comments. Commenter. Info: is it possible that they think that they should have walked away earlier, which is why they are now encouraging you to do the same? Commenter. Many years ago, he went to prison for something he did involving a woman. It wasn't physical, but it was serious enough that he served time. I completely understand why that raises concerns. However, the person I know now is very different from who he was back then. People can grow and change, and from everything I've seen, he has. Did you know him back then? Because he might have projected the aura of a decent person then too. You only say it wasn't physical, leaving a lot of room for what it was. I'd suggest you get the specifics of his crime arrest report, charging docs, court transcripts including sentencing hearing, parole board transcripts, publicly available in some states in US assuming you are in US. Read them all with a critical eye. Talk to a counselor/psychologist to discuss what is the likelihood of someone truly changing once they've committed a crime like that and what concerns should you watch for. Your friends have been direct with you that they can't support you in this. I am sure that was not an easy decision to come to after all you've been through together. But just like you feel it is in your best interest to stay with him, they feel it is in their best interest to keep a distance. You helped your friends before because you felt it was the right thing to do, not because you wanted to make them indebted to you. NAH. Commenter. Your friends can respect your choices and not want to be around your BF or his current GF, you. NAH. Commenter. Respectfully, if your friends still hate him then they're probably seeing something you aren't seeing. They're allowed to not want to be around a criminal. Just don't regret choosing him over them. Only you can decide that. OP's downvoted response. Of course I completely understand that. However, the one line I don't agree with is they're allowed to not want to be around a criminal. Her partner is pending court right now for STR** angling his mom and she's still with him. Commenter. They are projecting what happened to them onto you. That being said, the vagueness with which you described your partner's crimes is clearly played down. There's a big difference between jail and prison. Unless you've been falsely convicted, you go to prison for serious stuff. What kind of creepy sizzling was he up to? OP's downvoted in response. Sorry, I'm British, so maybe that's why there's confusion with jail and prison. I spoke to him and he does not mind me sharing the crime. It was blackmailing a woman. Commenter. Info: does your partner have to register as an offender now? If so, their kids can't be around him. You actually may need to see if your kid can be around him. It depends on what his offense was. OP in response. No, he didn't have to register as an offender or anything like that. Kids can definitely be around him. Commenter. NTA. But what's the age gap? OP in response. He's 4 years older. Commenter. NTA. From the sounds of it, they don't really have any ground to stand on having children with people who are either abusive or refusing to be involved, but they can choose to step away from a friendship for any reason. I wish you the best of luck. Commenter in response. Someone having been through an abusive relationship has extra good reason to not want to deal with someone who has been to prison about something with a woman. OP in response. Sorry, I should have clarified in my post that she is still with the abuser currently. That's why in my post I said I think it's unfair. Update, 2 hours later. Hi again, after my last post a lot of people had questions, so I just wanted to clear a few things up. First, both of my friends are still with the partners I mentioned. That's why I said I feel like it's unfair. I probably didn't explain that properly before. I'm not judging them for staying either because I know how complicated those situations are. I've actually been in an abusive relationship myself, so I understand how strong that kind of emotional hold can be. That's why I've always supported them and never judged them, no matter what. About my boyfriend, I asked him if he was okay with me sharing this and he said yes. He went to prison for blackmailing a woman. He got 4 years and served half of that. While he was inside, he kept his head down and worked on himself. He started studying and ended up getting a university degree. I know that doesn't just erase what he did, but he does take responsibility for it and has said he regrets it a lot. My friends have said they don't support the relationship because they think he's not a good person. What I'm struggling with is that what he did was many years ago, whereas things involving their partners have happened very recently, within the last 8 months. One of them was actually an assault against a woman, his mom to be specific. Even with all that, I never walked away from them. I stayed, supported them, and never gave ultimatums. So I think that's why I'm so hurt. It just feels really one-sided. I've always tried to be understanding and I'm not getting that back. I do understand why people would be concerned and I'm not ignoring that. I just don't know if it's fair to completely cut me off because of my choice. Also, my family has met him and even stayed with us for a week because we don't live close, and they've said they can see a real change in him and that they're willing to give him a chance. So yeah, with all that, AITAH? Edit ******. I understand why some people feel that way, and I know not everyone believes people can change. But his offense was over 15 years ago, and since then he hasn't committed a single crime. I believe people can grow and move forward, and I choose to judge him on who he is today. Relevant comments. Commenter. I saw your comment. He gave money to a coworker/friend, she refused to pay it back on the agreed upon time and then he blackmailed her with proof of her infidelity? Was he the one she cheated with? He went to jail for that? Commenter in response. I've a feeling the court documents might not line up with this take on the story. Commenter. Alright, so first of all, you all have extremely poor choice of men. Them with abusive partners and you with an ex-convict, yeah, not looking great. Listen, if you say he changed then great, good for him. Your friends can still not feel comfortable being involved with someone who served time for a crime against a woman. You're being pretty vague on what exactly the blackmail was, but frankly if he got convicted then enough said. Additionally, you seem to be pretty stuck on what's wrong with your friends' relationships rather than what you've got going on in your own. This entire post is basically talking about how terrible their boyfriends are and you were still friends so you're mad they won't do the same. You keep saying what he did was many years ago without being specific and you're now having a child with this man. AITAH, you're all in incredibly terrible circumstances and must clearly have a very low sense of self-respect to be with these types of men. OP's downvoted response. I understand some of what you're saying, and I do agree that none of these situations are ideal. I also get why my friends might feel uncomfortable, and I've never said they have to agree with my relationship. My issue is more with being completely cut off rather than being able to disagree and still remain friends. I mentioned their situations for context, not to tear them down. It's just where some of my feelings about fairness are coming from, especially since I supported them without judgment. As for my partner, I'm not ignoring his past. I'm choosing to be with him knowing what he did, but also based on the changes he's made since. I understand not everyone will agree with that, and that's okay. Commenter in response. My point is that if your boyfriend was convicted of a crime against a woman, your friends have every right to not want him to be a part of their lives. By being friends with you, that involves him in their lives, especially if you plan to be with him long term. They have the right to cut you off if it means connecting themselves with yet another problematic man. Just because of the context around their relationships and your decisions doesn't give you any right to feel if it's fair or unfair. You can stop being friends with anyone for any reason at any time. I do wish that they would stay friends with you and support you through this time, but if they feel uncomfortable then that's their right. You don't need to waste time trying to justify or unjustify their reasoning. I've personally cut friends off for having questionable taste in men. It's draining, and it shouldn't be a big part of a friendship. They didn't even have ex-convict partners. Commenter. I hate women like this. They stay with and make excuses for predators like this. What this monster did to a woman was bad enough to land him in prison for years. But look at this woman falling over herself to defend him. Utterly disgusting to see how desperate some women are for a man. They'll defend anything. Absolutely pathetic. I hope your friends cut you off. Commenter's downvoted comment. Have you verified that is what he went to prison for? I'm a lawyer and at least in the US, it is highly uncommon for a person to get jail time, especially 4 years, for a non-violent first offense. OP in response. Hiya, just to reiterate what I said to someone else on this post. In the UK it's criminal because it's not just a dispute, it's coercion using threats. Under the Theft Act 1968, blackmail is about making a demand with menaces to gain something or cause loss. That's seen as a public harm, not just a private disagreement, so the state prosecutes it. You can get up to 14 years in prison. I also don't need verification as I was there in court with him and his family. Commenter in response. Gotcha. The state, or the feds, prosecute extortion here as well, but if a person is a first-time offender, they will usually get supervised probation with jail time hanging over their head if they violate when it's a non-violent offense. So not knowing you were in the UK, it seemed like maybe the crime was more serious than you said. OP in response. That makes sense. It's my first time posting on Reddit, especially a story like this, so I wasn't aware that most of the traction would be from the USA. I didn't even think to specify that this took place in Britain and even so naively thought that the laws might be quite similar.
Wardabus here. This entire situation is so messy. OP's dating a convict who blackmailed a woman, and he spent several years in prison. Her friend's boyfriend assaulted his mom. Her other friend's boyfriend is just out of the picture. They're really picking some winners in this group. One thing that doesn't make sense to me is she says in her original post that his original offense was over 15 years ago. But then she says that she was in the court for the case. So has she known her boyfriend this entire time and they only started dating recently? Or have they been dating this an entire time? That's unclear to me. Do I think that she's an a-hole for staying with her boyfriend, even though her friends are cutting her off? It's hard to say. It's not like her friends have a great judge and character themselves, so she says her parents seem to like her boyfriend, so maybe that's a good sign. Yeah, I think she just needs to have a real sit-down conversation with her friends on, hey, why don't you like my boyfriend? Please be specific. Because maybe it's not actually about the boyfriend at all. Maybe it's about her friends and they've got some hang-ups about something. Or maybe they're jealous that she has a boyfriend who's trying to improve things in his life and things are changing for him.